interesting that you had him.
Yes.
Like, having to do all of these kind of things and still is scraping to get by, invests his life savings in this chess shop in the heyday of like culture in New York, 1950s. Right. So he's brushing elbows. Miles Davis, Coltrane is coming in, Marcel Duchamp is coming in, William Burroughs, Jack Kerouac, Kubrick is coming in, and now so many people in the arts are just like chess players. If you're not a huge success, you're essentially as kind of ridiculous as somebody would say, I want to play the chess.
In the arts and everywhere else.
Yep.
Winner take all.
Yep.
Losers battle for crumbs.
Yep.
And this circles back to, this is our man Brin Butler, and we taped a podcast and we don't have infinite time, so I'm going to do a little extra video here. We talked about during the podcast how, and we've talked about this before, fighting for crumbs, but one of the things that touched me today on the way in on the train was reading and saw how millennials, when they run the show, read the headline in the story, and I can't remember what publication, millennials, what do when they run the show? They unionize. And so that's, I think, what it's going to have to come back to. There's going to have to be structure in people fighting so they're not subsisting on the crumbs. Mm-hmm. Is it going to be in the format of what it was, unions? Probably not, because the anti-union people have so successfully demonized it and made it so even sort of blue-collar, white, especially blue-collars, just look down so much on unions because they believe that it's a bloated excess and the person at the top is dipping into the till and doesn't actually help the rank and file. But let's quickly shove over to boxing and talk about someone that you have as good a handle on as any journalist, or hell, probably a better handle on than maybe even himself at times, his own family, Andre Ward. I feel like I'm as interested or more interested in what Andre Ward is up to in his retirement than I was in between his fights when he was an active fighter. He has left the sport, so he says, but interestingly enough, his social media is more active than ever. He's trying to sell SOG merch, and he's talking about how he weighs 199 pounds and as fit as anything. He's talking about going back and forth, still having a beef with Sergey Kovalev, who he's fought twice. So maybe you can shed some insight and share with the watchers, the listeners. Do you think that Andre Ward is going to fight again, and is he taking a page out of the Floyd Mayweather playbook on how to remain relevant and keep people interested?
Yeah, I wonder. I mean, it was an interesting retirement because he's, had this staged retirement video, like a promotional video about it. That definitely seems out of Floyd's playbook, doesn't it? More than just walking away and being content with walking away. It sort of seems to me like could be interpreted like you're sort of fishing for, no, don't walk away, you're still on top. And what Floyd was able to do by coming back from, 3 retirements?
At least.
Overall?
Sure.
So Ward Kovalev was a business disaster. The rematch did worse numbers than the first fight, despite both fights being pretty good. Ward, from what I heard, was in negotiations almost finalized with Mike Lee of Subway fame before he walked away. Odd fighter. I mean, I was hearing Tony Bellew and some other options. I think Joshua was thrown out there. But from insiders that I talked to, it was actually Mike Lee. He was going to sort of have an easy fight.
Right.
So I wonder, maybe he thinks there is a way of him sort of coming back and making some money.
But Brin, they never miss you more when they can't have you, right? We know this in romance. It's in all facets of life, isn't it? The thing that isn't available to you becomes more attractive. It's common sense. It's conventional wisdom that fight fans are going to be missing Andre Ward arguably more when he's not available to them. And it's not like this is a new addition to the playbook, but Mayweather has done it just masterfully. And I suspect Ward doesn't always admit what his influences are. Many people don't. They like to say that their ideas are their own. But I just strongly suspect that he looked at that Mayweather playbook and is like, okay, this is the way to do it. I want a break. I need a break. None of these fights are speaking to me right now. I'm going to let some time pass. And rather than just fading away and, just being on the sidelines and people are like, oh, what's Ward up to? Mm-hmm. I'm going to continue to have them talking about me by being unavailable.
I mean, I think we're talking about him, but bottom line, do people pay to see him? Right. They never did. Right. He was never a pay-per-view fight. I mean, even his hero, Roy Jones Jr. What are Jones Jr.'s great pay-per-views as Jones also walks away, a few weeks ago, a couple weeks ago. Jones didn't have him.
Brin also walks away. Do you want to use the quotation marks? Can he ever walk away? He ain't done fighting, bro.
Jones, you don't think
Jones.
I mean, if anybody...
Not done fighting.
Probably not.
He said in the ring of his retirement fight, the only thing that can bring me back is a fight with Anderson Silva.
Yeah, right. Which
he could that. I felt like that irked me a little bit, and I took to social media and admitted that. Mm-hmm. Like, don't fucking yank my chain here. If you have a little plan going here because it's on UFC Fight Pass, can you not let me know? I don't want to be bullshitted so much. And there's that fine line between I'm okay with theatricality and drama and using sort of a pro wrestling storyline kind of way of handling these things. I am and I'm not. I want to be okay with it, but I also don't want to be lied to. Mm-hmm. And I actually did a tweet, and then the UFC Fight Pass account holder took issue with one of my tweets and says, no, we're not trying to put anything over on anyone. We just thought it would be nice to offer this. And it's just, no. I will be proven right or I will be proven wrong over probably a year or so. But is it just because you just wanted some content? Maybe this is their dipping their feet into the boxing pool. Want to know how maybe production is different? I don't know. So maybe I'll prove to be errant in my estimation of what really was going on here. But what is Roy now, 49?
Yeah, 49 in February, I think. And
I just watched a little snippet of that quote-unquote final fight against Scott Sigmund. Yeah. And he's still, to me, maybe only because I saw 20 seconds of it, he's still interesting to watch. Was it just horrific?
Yeah, it's horrific. Okay. I mean, no discredit to Roy. I love Roy, right. But I mean, he's fighting somebody that I have trained people on day 3 that had more technical prowess than the guy that Roy was fighting. Yeah. Just knowing how to throw a punch, getting your body weight behind a punch. Right. So, I mean, this is not even fighting cab drivers and that sort of cliche. This was just, I don't even know where they found this guy.
Poorly trained cab driver. The guy had like 20 fights.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
I just watching him, the eyeball test was, what is he doing? So, if Roy is able to just get in front of somebody, but watching Roy stick his tongue out to the crowd, hometown crowd, while mocking a nobody, I don't know what purpose it serves. He can't fight, not just at an elite level, but he can't fight somebody ranked in the top 30 without some serious danger being there. So I just don't know what it accomplishes having him out there. And I think with Andre Ward, the time I spent with him, something that was really apparent is he's overcome a lot of tremendous injuries. Probably several career-ending injuries. So when he walked away, I assumed that those injuries were just getting the better of him, and he was just finding it harder and harder to be at the same level that he was able to get to with Kovalev. I mean, those were some pretty tough fights that he had. He didn't look dominant against Kovalev. He won, but there were some big question marks there, and it was a struggle. So now he wants to move up further. You're 190, close to 200 pounds.
Yeah, there's the big leap, right? 175, and then the next level up is under 200 pounds.
Yeah.
That's not that's not 8 pounds north.
And he's not a big guy.
Right.
I mean, I'd say Andre Ward, I've interviewed a lot of elite level fighters. He's the only one that didn't look like a genetic freak. He looks like an intramural 30-year-old athlete. You know, he just looks like a guy who's pretty good at basketball, playing pickup basketball. He doesn't look like a career athlete. And even when he was not in training for a fight. He wasn't in camp, so he wasn't ripped or anything like that, but he's still exercising, you know, but he wasn't watching all his food, you know, eating hamburgers and fries and stuff while I was with him. But I was just aware he just doesn't look like an athlete the way Roy does, or Tyson, or, you know, a number of these guys. It's just obvious what they do. There's no question. Andre was a guy, no matter where we went, everybody said, I think I know you. That was the Andre Ward thing. And we were in Oakland.
And in your hometown, in your place where you should be known.
Well, you should be known. And then
everywhere.
The moment I watched him
I know you.
And the moment I watched him get in the ring, it's very obvious that he's tremendous.
Right.
You know, he's an all-time great. The moment he gets in the ring. So that's an interesting quality that he has that's unusual for me with any other fighter. But, you know, as we're saying, this is him as a world champion, Olympic champion in his hometown. We're driving all over town. It was not like Roy Jones in Pensacola. Everybody knew who Roy was, wherever we went. It wasn't like that for Ward.
Because when people go up to Roy with little kids and stuff, isn't he more at ease than an Andre is, and more affable?
Yeah, Andre is more like an actor. It's more like watching an actor posing
being dutiful.
for photos.
He'll do it, but he doesn't.
It's
the
more like
energy isn't like.
It's like a policy.
Right.
It seems like a policy decision. And what I heard from a lot of people that got me in the door with Roy is real knows real. And that was the big takeaway with Roy. Roy is one of the least charismatic people I've ever met, and that's what's so endearing about him, is he's just a real guy. I never liked him from his antics in the ring, you know, or after a fight or promoting his rap crew. When you spend time with him as a person, with his family, he's a low-key guy. He's a very well-spoken, thoughtful, interesting character, but he's humble. He's humble, and he's very real. Andre, it's like you're talking to a corporate logo. And the example that I used after interviewing him, showing me a lot of emotional terrain that he'd never talked about with his family, the moment he did it for cameras with HBO, that's when he was crying. With me, he wasn't. So I thought, and it was a verbatim script from what he said to me to what he said to cameras. So that to me speaks to, well, you can put together how you like, but...
He did the Oscar caliber version for HBO. He saved the Golden Globe level for
if you wanted to walk away from what you're doing, do you stage a promotional video? It's a bit like, instead of somebody throwing flower petals in front of you, you throw them out for yourself. Yeah. And I just thought, it's just odd, but it's very in keeping with some qualities of him that I think made him as great as he was, but at the same time, it's hard to connect to it emotionally because it doesn't seem like it's coming from an emotional place. It's coming from a business place.
Well, that's, and then we'll move on maybe to another subject for people that don't care that much about Ward, but we, the media, spent a lot of time over the years trying to figure out maybe why Ward didn't resonate more mightily with more of the masses. Mm-hmm. And I believe it was because of a lack of warmth, emotion, a detachment.
Yeah. Well,
just not seen as being real, and someone that I would want to me as a fan, someone I would want to sit down and have a beer with.
I enjoyed my time with him, but what I'm aware is I felt numb. I didn't feel numb with Roy. I didn't feel numb. Like 5 days with Roy, I wouldn't say it was fun because we were talking about him unpacking a horrendous history with abuse from his dad. Andre was talking about similarly intimate material with a family of drug addiction, but it very much felt to me like a promotional video. It wasn't a conversation.
Right.
And the moments that jumped out at me that really did make me connect to him were almost accidents. They were when his aunt asked, after I interviewed his aunt with him, his aunt said, Andre, I have some stuff for you in the kitchen to sign. And Andre looked at me like, ooh, I didn't want you to that's not what I wanted to show you.